Hello. Okay. Alright, we're gonna get Fear Dragon on the call, and we're gonna get the lobby made, and we're going to test if this happens with his mic too. Should be interesting. Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little low.
Okay, I can turn myself up. Alright, how does this sound? Is this better?
Higher.
How about this? Does
Okay, that's
this
good.
sound okay? Okay, cool.
I think that's good.
Damn my microphone.
Dude, so you like been paying attention? Do you know like Rifkin why he asked you? Come on.
I know that you guys have been having microphone troubles for a bit.
Yeah, so yeah, but this is a different one. So it's like even cooler, right? So basically this happens when we're casting and he's streaming. So like I won't really mention it even though it's a little annoying. Where he'll just like he'll fizz or he'll cut out every couple of like seconds. But because I'm streaming, they can hear it, and it's obviously very annoying. So he just, he got you on to help me out, so I don't have a solo cast. So first of all, thanks for coming on, Pure Dragon.
Yeah, good to be here. I miss the days of casting CSL, so here I am.
Cool. And second of all, the test if it happens to you, which so far it's not.
Has it only been in Zoom, or have you
No,
guys...
Zoom and Skype with me and him streaming.
That's really strange. All right. Well, we're gonna find out for sure if it's actually you or if the problem is him.
Yeah.
All right. So where are... You'll have to forgive me a little bit. Where are we at in this series?
Okay, so this is the first game of the series. We just cast replays. So right
Okay.
now we're going into a live series where the teams are actually here, and that's who we're waiting on.
Yeah. Awesome. And this will be game one.
Yes, game one. So let's see. The set two today will be the University of Arizona, nicknamed the Dream of Salvation, and Hyperbolic, who I don't believe we've seen before, and McGill University, also known as the Peppered Angus, Nephew 92, and Finite Jest.
All right. Sounds pretty good. Uh, awesome. And these are going to be Archon mode matches. Cool.
Yep.
The players have already picked their races and everything. It's going to be a Protoss versus Zerg. How have you been feeling about Protoss versus Zerg in Archon mode? Because I know I've been playing like some Archon mode with friends and stuff, and I feel like, you know this better than I do. Like Archon mode, you always tend to lean towards specific strategies that exploit the fact that you have two people playing in the early game, right? You tend to go for more aggressive strategies, right?
Sure, like Rifkin always brings up that siege tanks are almost always better in Archon mode. Siege tanks drops, rather.
Yeah, exactly. So in that same light, I've been playing a lot of Protoss with Archon mode, so I've been going for like a lot of Oracle openings, maybe like Blink Stalker stuff. What have you guys been seeing in like Archon mode matches in PvZ?
Well, we cast a TVT tournament the last week, so... No, I'm just kidding. We have been seeing a lot more Terran, though, honestly, just in the Lima League, like leagues, and our own tournaments, reaching the final stages. So PvZ, I haven't been seeing a lot, to be honest. You probably know more as someone who's playing Narcon mode.
Oh my god, well I've been seeing, that's the funny thing is that, I know about like a lot of the options that I think of and I go for whenever I play Protoss, but whenever I play a Zerg in Archon mode, at least in my experience, I've always been encountering very passive Zerg players. That or they'll make a bunch of Roaches and Ravagers, and late game they'll go for like the Mutalist player or something like that, but like it hasn't been super hyper aggressive Zerg, and that I've always found that really interesting, and I really feel like the players they'll find that aggressive opening that lets them abuse the fact that they have two players is going to really have a nice advantage.
Okay. Well, we're into game number one. It's on Arena, or whatever it's pronounced again. It seems to be the default first map. This was the last series as well. And the top left in this best of 5, there we go, it is the pink Protoss. Now, hold on. Hyperbolic and Well, his name right now is Torque, but on the thing it's Salvation, so I'm not sure which one he wants to go by.
All right, and the other team, split down in the bottom left-hand corner as the orange Zerg, who I am expecting to see a lot and learn a lot about Archon mode Zerg from, is going to be Team Noop and Nick. Oh man.
Yeah, so Nephew92 and Finite Jess, so...
No, I think we're gonna go with Noop. I think that's,
okay.
That's the correct way to pronounce this.
That sounds like a good deal. So one player on each team using the correct, the name they gave us, the other one not. So that just makes it so much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna call them Team N squared because they both begin with the N. So there we go. Can't mess that one up.
Brilliant. Alright, so you're excited to see what Zerg will do in this matchup. I'm excited to see if Protoss will actually have an answer, because from what we remember before TVT really took over for us, specifically, was that Protoss weren't doing very well.
I think I know what the answer is. I think the answer is to
Oh my god. Your laugh was so loud. Like, everything else was fine, but your laugh was like, you just went up to the mic and laughed.
No. So here's actually the thing, is that you might think that, like, audience might think, like, my microphone got messed up or something. No, that's actually just how I laugh when I see Protoss pulling shenanigans like these, like building the proxy pylons, trying to force their opponent into thinking, oh god, they're gonna start cannon rushing us. Of course, the Overlord has scouted out and seen that there's just Cybernetics core going down, nothing too crazy. But I love Protoss players that do these kind of fake outs.
Yeah. The Zerg didn't really overreact to it, though.
Yeah.
Hopefully I got there pretty quick. I mean, these are the only spawns you'll get if you didn't know, if you're new to the maps or whatever. You can't spawn, like, over here and over here. So the Overlord's gonna go over there almost immediately.
Yeah. The double gas geyser from the Zerg player also feels really aggressive, and there we end up seeing the Roach. I'm imagining that this is going to be for some nice early Ravager pressure, but still, these are really early gas geysers.
Yeah, that is a good point. Definitely looking for some aggression, also getting speed behind it too, so it might be Ravagers into a Ling Bust. A very popular build we saw on Bridgehead, actually, but it's no longer in the map pool. You can break down the rocks and then break down the pylon wall. Here, obviously, you have to go up a ramp, which that's another reason why Bridgehead was okay for it. You didn't have any issues with sight, making sure an Overload is there, for instance. Here, you do a little bit. Overload will have to stay alive to help out the Ravagers.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious how this is going to go, because we do have the Stargate coming, and one thing that I really like, I mean, the Protoss player has scouted out as the Protoss players have scouted out the gas geysers. And that means that they should have at least some idea that this is a big potential that they're going to have to worry about, especially with the Adept coming in, seeing, oh, there's not really drone saturation in the natural, and they're going to see the roaches. That's an immediate tell, like, hey, if I make an Oracle, I can actually use the stasis trap planted at the top of my ramp, and guess what? I can section off groups of the roaches and get a much easier defense going.
Yeah, that is probably their best option. Now, the go-to might, be hard to swarm, though, and that might be where they mess up, like, well, at least I can go and try and get as many drone kills as possible. The Queen is a little out of position in the main base, for instance, or maybe I'll just use it to add a little bit extra damage to the roaches, but a stasis trap would probably be their best bet. Half of the roaches getting shot by the pylon, photon overcharge on the pylon, although the militia core is not quite ready yet, and then the other half just frozen in place.
I think you're right. I think that's exactly what they're going to be going for, but here we end up seeing a lot of Ravagers. That's 5 Ravagers already this early on, and what is there for Protoss? There's a Stalker, and there's a Mothership Core. Oh my god, the pylon gets taken out before any photon overcharge, too. Oh my god, warp gate gets canceled, or stopped.
Yeah, it'll probably get canceled. You're correct about that. Only one other pylon is there, and if you don't know, of course, photon overcharge on pylon, but also the range was reduced and the duration was reduced. So it's really about popping up as much damage as possible, as close as possible. So obviously can't reach those Ravagers. Just simply helping out taking the Lings is not actually that helpful. The Lings get there the fastest and the easiest to replace. It's really those Ravagers that you want to try and get rid of, and then maybe block off the Lings later on in your main. But no wall off has been started. The Ravagers and the Lings just walk right up, and Protoss is obviously in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the Roboxility is desperately trying to get out of Immortals. Oh, no! Here's the reality of the situation now. Even if these Ravagers get cleaned up, and I don't even know if they are going to get cleaned up that quickly. Okay, it looks like they will. Protoss is behind in workers now, and bases.
Oddly enough, not by too many workers, only by, well, now 8, I suppose. But, of course, yeah, lost the Nexus. Didn't lose Warpgate, which is surprising. That was, if that had gone down, I would say no hope for Protoss.
As long as we're looking on the bright side, I mean, they also have double forge to get both of their upgrades at the exact same time. Now all they need are the minerals and the gas to get both upgrades at the same time.
Dude, I thought that's... I thought it was a mistake for what they were doing, but they might have just anticipated the forge being the first thing to die to Ravager shots, you know, a bit of a slower break than that burst that happened.
I don't know, to me it was just, oh god, we need to wall off immediately right now. And I believe a forge might have more hit points than a gateway, but I'm actually iffy on that question.
Let's see, 400 and...
I do know Cybernetics Core has more. Cybernetics Core, for those of you aspiring Protosses out there, if you ever need an emergency wall-off and you could build a Cybernetics Core, that is your best bet for cost efficiency versus health points for a wall.
And if you can't afford it, a Nexus is even better. It's like that dataless point wall-off, remember?
The Cybernetics Core, how are you going to afford the Nexus?
Fear, do you remember when dataless point had that awful wall? I mean, it was already...
Oh my god!
It continued to be an awful map afterwards.
The exact game you're talking about right now.
Was it a game? I thought it was just a funny screenshot where they put a Nexus
I saw it as
down.
a game.
Oh
I saw
God.
it as a game.
Oh my god! If you guys don't know, it was a huge, like, a stupidly big ramp, very bad map to be honest. And in order to wall off, you had to build a Nexus. Like,
oh, it was beautiful. The macro Nexus that Artosis always dreamed about. It was a reality for those couple of days.
yeah.
And then Protoss just went back to striking out Daedalus Point in every single tournament and ladder game, however.
So this is interesting. The Phoenixes aren't doing such a bad job. They do run out of energy, and that's what really hurts them there. Picks up the Queen for like a second to kill it. But they're starting to take down the Hydras. The Hydras, we pointed out that Zerg wasn't exactly on a great economy either, despite having, one, now two more bases, with the third base finishing up. They just didn't have a lot of drones, so, the Hydras were coming out one at a time. Had the Phoenixes been in higher numbers, like 6 or 7, they could have had easy pickings and been an easy way to start getting back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, even just forcing out the Hydros right now, we were talking about, you already said, like 100 times now, we've talked about how few drones Zerg player actually has, and up until just now, the droning basically halted because of this Phoenix harassment. So they've had a little bit of a time to catch up, just a tad bit in the worker count, and Zombie Grub, I'm just gonna say it right now, this map has a gold island expansion.
Oh.
If they have total map control and they already have the robotics facility, I'm just saying you could drop a probe there and take a very easily to defend third expansion.
So that is a great point, but I was also thinking about the Zerg because I noticed they were building an Evo chamber and just a single Evo chamber. And because this was an odd opener, it looked to be at an odd time. Obviously, it's just for the upgrade, which is quite disappointing, but the Evo Chamber gives access to the Overlords to transform into carrying Overlords, so they'd be slow, but they could have sent it over there to take a gold base for the Zerg, too.
Oh my god, that would actually make my day. We do have an Overseer moving around. They're specifically moving it to the gold expansion, dropping a changeling there. They're clearly actually thinking along the exact same lines as me. They've clearly played many Protoss like me.
Well, it's not going to be taken away either one. Maybe later, maybe. But we do have that drone count looking a lot better for Orange Zerg. Still not great, but a lot better than the 19 versus 11 they were both at just a couple of minutes ago. Both getting to third bases too, and if the Protoss gets away with the third base and actually gets it saturated, that'd be a big surprise, but also obviously very good for them. Be a big burst in production. They are using both forges, so
ooh, those Phoenix end up taking some big hits actually on the
one
other side
dies.
of the map. Yeah, ends up losing one, a lot of the shields on the other ones, but one thing I wanted to say is we have a Colossus coming out from our Protoss players, but I was really going to just talk about how one of the best units when you're behind, I feel, is the Disruptor, because it's this game changer unit that can get massive hits. Maybe sometimes it gets the terrible, like you don't get any good hits off and then you just end up losing it. You're massively far behind, but really what the Pros players need are a game-changing unit, and I feel like Colossus is like the safe unit.
It's in a lot of position right now. Safe is a pretty good word because what it is mostly is consistent. Consistency
Yeah.
is safety, right? And that it won't run out of shots, and it doesn't have like a cooldown like Disruptor does. But Disruptor, if it does get that one shot, then it is definitely a comeback potential. The Colossus gets one shot, not exactly comeback potential. If the Zerg runs into a choke, the Colossus shoots at them, sure, but that's the Zerg's fault for sure at that point.
Yeah, well, we're gonna need some chokes.
Oh,
Oh my god,
no!
+1 armor does finish just in time. And oh my god, that's gonna actually buy time for +1 weapons? Nope. +1 does not finish.
Loses the third, obviously, without being used very much at all. No probes ever went to go mine it, I believe. And they did need that, as their opponents are onto a fourth base and they are mining out of the main. Oh, a second forge is... Well, no, wait, that's their first forge. They lost both of them, that's right.
The unfortunate reality is setting in for both the players as well as Zombie Grub. But the Zerg players have a pretty solid contain and has set up over here. This is going to be a real problem because even if the Protoss players somehow manage to get enough of an army to break out of here, there's a fourth expansion going down for the Zerg players, and the main base is already mining out for the Protoss players. The natural expansion is going to be mining out relatively soon as well, just because it's Legacy of the Void. They do not have that many minerals.
Zerg obviously aware that one thing that could happen is just counterattacks, warp prisms, whatnot, so getting a little bit of stack defense and even a Spire potentially for Corruptors, or maybe even a Mutilus Switch. Honestly, they could max out in basically anything and win, but a Mutilus Switch would definitely catch Protoss off guard. They really have no gateway production. They do still have a Stargate, so they could try to get like a bunch of Phoenixes, but either way, it's not looking good.
Yeah. It is looking a little bit dire right now, but you know what? I know the safety Void Rays when I see them. They are trying to cling on. They're doing their absolute best. And Cybernetics Core going down, as you mentioned, going to be a little bit rough, but with Cybernetics Core coming up behind them, I would say the bigger problem about losing that Cybernetics Core for now is just the fact that their Wallen is slowly evaporating, and they kind of needed that to hold off this this push from even be able to move up the ramp.
No. Decent force fields with a decent army. Again, Colossus, they are consistent, but they did have their damage nerfed in the very beginning of Legacy of the Void. Their range nerf has been rescinded, basically, so they have their range back if you upgrade it. But they step a little too far out, not enough force field to stop the onslaught of Zerg. And while the Colossus, there's two of them, and that is a little bit scary. It's just too overwhelming of a Zerg force. And they go down pretty quick.
Yeah, and when they go down, there's not a whole lot left over. What are you going to do? Warp in the Zealots? Zealots come in, but Turk just says, okay, don't worry, we got this. Maybe it's like a reassuring, okay, there we go, next game. Zerg players going to be taking victory in game number 1 for this best of 5. And I actually need to be back in like about a minute.
Okay.
Before I knew that I was going to be casting today, I ordered food online, and my driver has actually been patiently waiting at the door, so I will be back in a matter of minutes.
What a nice guy. Alright, so there's no breaks here in a commercial break. We do have to wait for the lobby to get set up with everyone again. Hopefully we invited to that soon. It is Luja's pick, I believe. And just to wait. But if you're just tuning in, this is Fear Dragon, who just left to go get his food. Rifkin is not here, because he was here, but for whatever reason, and maybe it is his fault, like, there's no use in blaming anyone, because basically we have no idea what's happening, but I, specifically me, hear him sometimes, whether we're using Skype or Zoom, break up every once in a while. Like, he starts to get fuzzy, and then it'll actually just straight cut out for, once or twice every couple of minutes. And it's really annoying for me, but I usually just deal with it if I'm not the one streaming. But in this case, I am, so you guys hear it as well. When he streams and I hear it, the audience won't hear it. So it's a bit of a conundrum as to what to actually do to fix it. So we don't know if it's me, if it's him. Gotten a couple people offering suggestions in chat, and I do appreciate it, because for once these aren't just really like dumb suggestions, to be honest. Not like, did you turn it off and on again? Like, no, they're actually helping and basically Googling for me, but that is appreciated, as I am obviously a bit busy. Can't do it myself. So definitely like to hear those suggestions after the cast, probably. It's always so scary, even if you think that's not going to affect anything at all, to change any settings. Especially after the fiasco of last night, where I blew everyone's eardrums out. Not my fault, just technology, okay? Just saying. But you don't want to touch anything, so I'm just going to leave it be. But that does mean that Rifkin is out for the day. I see him. He's hanging around in chat every once in a while, and I'm sure he's keeping himself busy. But he was supposed to cast, and I know he's sad about that. I appreciate Fear Dragon coming on, not only helping me not solo cast, but also helping this little experiment to see what's what with this issue. I've also done about 3 or 4 other CSL productions with Rifkin, and it hasn't been a problem. So it does appear randomly every once in a while. I really... how do I put this politely? Maybe just make the lobby. And then you can see. Or people can join off of people.
Okay, I am back.
Hello, Fear Dragon.
Hello.
Yeah. Alright, so we're in lobby. It's going to be Prion Terraces.
Oh god. This map. I know this map.
Not a fan?
Lots of gold expansions. Lots and lots of gold expansions.
Yeah, what, 1, 2, 3, 4,
I think there were like 8 or something?
6
6
or
or 8.
7, I thought. I'm trying to count them on the map preview, but I guess we'll wait till we're actually on the map.
Yeah. But regardless, this is a very, very interesting map for gold expansions. And, you know, I was thinking in that last game about, you know, I had some time to think while I waited for my delivery driver. But I was thinking in that last game about things that I wish the Protoss players had done. And I like the idea of getting aggressive with that Oracle. But the problem was, I looked back and I was thinking about that Oracle. And I don't know what it was doing during that initial Ravager attack, right? Because if it didn't have the opportunity to get aggressive, I don't remember it like going in and killing drones during the attack, but I also don't remember it being there during the defense. So I feel like in terms of things that they could do, prioritizing a little bit more of the aggression could also be really helpful in those sort of situations.
You're like out of breath while explaining this.
No, I am so out of breath. I was going a mad dash.
Damn, man. Yeah, I don't remember the Oracle either, but certainly also just getting that scout a little bit earlier would have helped. It was a very hard push in general, because the thing about that Ravager push specifically is that whether or not it busts you immediately, it does still have the potential to bust you, like, eventually, too, because the Ravager shots can, at some point, be free if you have the Overlord giving you constant coverage. You know, they have that range, and until you get Disruptors out, or until you get a big enough Stalker army out, you can't really stop them from just poking at your buildings. It's very frustrating to play against. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen twice in a row. But we'll see. We'll see. In the bottom rights, in game number 2, as the pink Protoss, once again, it is... actually, hold on. So these guys don't use their names. What is it? Salvation and Hyperbolic.
And their opponents spawning up in the top left-hand corner as the Orange Zerg players. It is Team N Squared. Give it up for Nephew and Nick.
Yes. Nick, or Finite Jess, whichever one you want to call, playing for McGill University, while our Protoss players are playing for University of Arizona. Their nickname is The Dream. So far, The Dream is pretty, it's not doing so well. Let's see.
The Dream is still a dream, so to speak, but ooh, I like these, very, very fast gold expansion.
Yeah, we saw this, actually in our TVT tournament, I believe it was. Or maybe something different. Well, this is it's once again no, it's not a fake. Oh no, that's a forge.
This is a forge first. Yeah, I looked at that too, and normally you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, you know, whatever. But here's the really cool thing: the Zerg players coming in, looking around for the buildings, and are they even gonna see it? Oh, they see a gateway. Okay, they see the forge.
So I think the positioning on this is a little awkward, right? Because you don't show them anything, and that is a big red question mark in general. So they will start looking for other things. But what they might have been hoping was that, oh my god, there's nothing at the front, or like that's a really late cybernetics core. Did they proxy the 2 gateways? But, you know, 2 gateway proxy into Cybernetic core is not the usual, so I feel like that was inevitably going to be scouted, unfortunately for Protoss, and they did not get an opportunity to use any of the cannons, and now they have a very inferior SimCity. I mean, it sounds silly to be like, oh, their buildings are out of place, that's a big deal, but it is a big deal. Now they're just going to 3-gate, or 2-gate.
I mean, SimCity is what basically gave them any chance in that first game number 1 against the Ro32 aggression, right? SimCity is immeasurably important, and we already have the Zerglings that killed off that pylon heading straight across the map. The Protoss players are already so far behind from going for that early aggression, going for the Forge, not being able to make any use of it, and now they can't even get a Nexus.
Oh, he's trying to dodge him out. The Lings are on the way. Now, there are still slow Lings, so 2 Adepts will probably be able to deal with this, but that was almost really cool. The drone specifically was trying to block that gateway. Oh my god, it just blocks the expansion.
This is really smart. The Adepts are going to do additional damage versus light units. Those Zerglings are not going to be able to block that Nexus, but, I mean, Adepts don't actually kill a hatchery very quickly.
No, they don't. It's like when you cancel that Zealot and you're out there get a Stalker versus the Engineer block, and you're just like, you want something else besides Adepts trying to take on the structure. Well, honestly, you just don't want the structure there in the first place. That probe could have tried to block out that drone, but who would have expected it, you know? If they had 300 minerals, you thought that it would be in drones by now, or their own third back at home by now, not in your base.
Oh my god. Archon mode awards the players that have the initiative. When you have 2 players, it's much easier to split up the tasks and take advantage of that extra APM you have when you're on the offensive and you're dictating what the plan is. But on the defense, I feel like the Protoss players are kind of struggling to figure out what's going on. And we're starting to see finally Protoss players trying to get a little bit aggressive over here, but not a whole lot being accomplished so far. 1 Adept already goes down.
Yeah. Sorry, mouse slipped. The hatchery is still not being dealt with. 1 Adept. Oh, they cancel it. I think they should have kept it alive.
I don't know. You know, there's a photon cannon already finished up. I don't know how much longer they would have delayed it, really.
If it was 2 photon cannons, yeah, cancel it. Because, you know, especially if the cans are done, then they just, you know, wasted 150 minerals. But with only 1 cannon and only, like, 1 or 2 Adepts, yeah, you have to kill the hatchery and then the creep has to recede. I think it would have been worth it, but it obviously was their choice. Now they have 300 minerals to do whatever else they want, so get their own third back at home. It was either or, I suppose.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Team Protoss ended up losing 2 of their Adepts, and that's actually going to make them a little bit susceptible to this Zergling run by. No Adept Shades are being forced out right now. Both of these Adepts are just going to end up dying, and I think the 3rd expansion is going to die with it.
Yeah, no cancel either. Really, really bad when you consider that 2 people should have been watching it.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. Zerglings probably gonna lose most of their lives, especially with the extra. That's like a spiteful photon overcharge. I'm only gonna get 2 hits off with this photon overcharge, but damn it, I hate those Zerglings. It's worth it.
Photon overcharge only costs 25 energy. Recall only costs 50. Like, everything has really changed, Legacy of the Void, for the Mothership Core specifically. And while it does look stupid to have a pylon overcharge, the balance is not bad. It is a useful, and it kind of makes sense in some situations too to have that instead of the next overcharge. It just looks stupid. I don't like it.
I don't know. I appreciate my pylons being photon overcharge. It makes defending my proxy pylons much easier when I all in.
No, of course.
This is going to be a little bit scary because I love this play over here from Team Zerg. Team N squared going for the roaches, even making a Ravager in clear vision of Team Protoss. But here's the thing, the Spires going up behind all of this, they're going into a big Mutal switch, and you know what you don't make a lot of? You don't really make a lot of Stalkers against this. You're trying to get force fields up with your sentries, you're trying to SimCity yourself in, maybe you're even getting some Zealots or Adepts just to tank damage, but they might be really caught off guard by this Mutal switch.
Yeah, more and more we see Protosses just have to deal. They have to be afraid of roaches because of something like this. Roaches and Ravagers and maybe and eventually Lurkers. So they're always looking towards, not Bling Stalkers, but rather Adepts, Immortals, Disruptors, Warp Prisms. All things that don't deal well with Mutalisks. So Mutalist switches have been deadly about 90% of the time, I would say, of what we've seen in PvZ over the course of the beta. Like, the whole, 5-6 months it's been. They've been super deadly. The Nexus was allowed to be finished, and as such was killed.
Well, you know, there were not that many roaches left over. They probably thought they were going to be able to finish it, but I'm just really surprised that we keep. I mean, I can kind of understand. Keep seeing immortals popping out, but there was very clearly Burrow finished up. One of the two Protoss players must have noticed that, but it's just that hard decision. Like, I need immortals to deal with the roaches. How do I also afford an observer? And oh no. Oh no, one of the best forms of the anti-air, the mothership core being able to push an overcharge is gone. And now, how do you defend versus the mutas?
Yeah, that was their only line of defense for the first minute, and definitely a necessary one. That's the time you get to maybe chron out Blink, or just get more stalkers, or maybe more cannons in a mineral line. Like, it's similar to Reapers. Mutas can really snowball in a situation like this, where if the first 8 or 9 do a whoa, what the hell happened there? If the first 8 or 9 do a lot of damage, that means that the next 10 or 20 are probably going to win the game. But if the first 8 or 9 don't, then it's actually a pretty even game, and the Protoss has a chance, as slim as it is.
Yeah, the biggest thing, even right now, when this Mutals count is not that high that it's doing, is it's going to keep the Protoss player at home, and it's going to force a unit composition. When there are these Mutals out, you just need to continue making Stalkers. You really just don't have a choice. Those Stalkers are going to be taking gas away from teching. I mean, the Mutals are taking away gas mining, because look at this, even when these probes weren't being harassed by the Mutalists, there were no probes mining gas. There's still no workers mining gas right now. The Protoss doesn't even have the opportunity to tech.
Yeah, 59 workers to 15 with no gas income. These buildings over here, including the forge, where Blink and +2, I should say, is something that is instrumental to have in the mid and late game versus Mutas. Not even a chance here. Like, first of all, barely even afford it, and second of all, that forge is going to get sniped eventually.
I love how annoying the Zerg players are being. Whoever the microing player is for the Zerg players, just continuously picking off those pylons by those 2 gateways in the forge. They are actually just evil people. They are the worst, because they've decided at this point, like, look, we're way ahead in this game. We're probably going to win game number 2. That's like the most likely situation. But let's just make sure that these 2 players hate StarCraft as much as possible. We're not going to let them even finish this upgrade. Like, our objective is that they just hate their life. They have the worst day today.
It's the case where if that really is happening to the Protoss, they're just like getting tilted and like, man, mutas are so stupid and why have they deal with them right now? It would be better just to go to game number 3, but they're going to be their last game if they allow that to happen. So they're not willing to give up that easily. But it is game, like 10 probes now. You said the micro player was evil, but the macro player is pretty evil too. The creep spread has been spread almost now halfway, and they were transferring over into Roach Hydra. So. Tech switches everywhere, hard to deal with for Protoss.
Team N squared taking game number 2, bringing themselves 1 game away from victory in this best of 5 series. And Zombie Grub, let me tell you something about the meta behind like tapping out of games in Archon mode games, because sometimes you're not always in sync with your partner about when you feel like you should give up. Have you ever had those like sort of situations where you're no, we're totally still in this, or no, we're dead, like let's stop trying, and you leave the game and they get upset with you that you left the game early?
Of course.
Exactly. Like, people who've played Archon mode know that feeling. People who played like regular team games, like 2v2s and stuff, know that feeling. And one thing I will say is that it's made me much more, playing with someone who felt like I left the game too early has already made me feel like I need to just be a little bit more conservative. So now we tend to just stay in games much later than we need to. And I feel like I'm speculating, but that may have been the case in that game where it's like neither player, they both kind of know that it's probably over, but you don't want to leave because your teammate might not want to leave, and you don't want to be the one that says, we're dead.
I don't know. There's only been one case in Archon mode specifically that I have left the game before Rifkin was ready to leave the game. And now we usually just both are like, oh, we're dead. Yeah, we're dead. And we have it.
That's fair enough. Probably a better communication than I do. I just kind of say, God, what's with this game? And I'll just like slam my keyboard, rage quit out. I actually just leave my computer after I have a terrible game.
Okay, yeah, I don't do that, so that makes sense. I think it's more...
I'm actually totally lying, because you've played Archon mode with me.
Yes, I have. Makes
it a better story.
He's just quiet, because he's like, I hope somebody doesn't yell at me.
That's actually a pretty good summary of it.
Yeah. I think it would be much more likely to happen in 2v2s, because one person could legitimately be out of the game, another person not so much. Which is what happened. I totally brought the game back versus a Blink Stalker all in.
Mm,
Pretty good.
those are the best. That's actually one of my favorite things about Archon mode, though, is that in 2v2s, and I actually I never enjoyed playing 2v2s very much. And the thing that I like about Archon mode that I did not like about 2v2s is that in 2v2s, a lot of the time, one of the most valid like strategies slash game plans that you could have in a game is if you were playing like the more techie or like macro-based approach, and your teammate gets attacked, one of the best things that you can do is say, hey, teammate of mine, yeah? Die as slowly as possible for
Yeah.
me. Just like, you know, you're not gonna and you're not probably not gonna enjoy it very much. You're literally just gonna be fighting a guaranteed losing battle. But just try and die as slowly as possible for me. You know, elongate that pain of your defeat for me so that I have a chance of coming back and winning. And that's like the worst feeling ever. But in Archon mode, it's like you're either both going down together or you're both going up together.
I don't think it's that bad of a feeling when they're like, just die as slowly as possible. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna be a little whatchamacallit for this PG stream.
Pain in the butt.
Yeah, a little pain in the butt about this.
I'm more bitter about it. I'm just like, okay, fine. I'm like holding off with my sentries like I'm like completely dead, completely outnumbered, but I'm like that Protoss player that's like warping in one sentry at a time for that next force field, trying to get up to 6 so I can infinitely force field the ramp. Oh, I hate that feeling. That's just like the sulk. That's what I like to call it. It's the sulk phase of a StarCraft game.
So we're finally getting in the lobby. It's going to be Orbital Shipyard, and they were talking about maybe changing to Terran. I don't know if they're serious about that or not, but it's not allowed to change races. We just had a random team in the last series, and that's why we saw a bunch of different races.
It's the meta. Your opponents now might be thinking about, what do we do versus a Terran player? And then they're not concentrating on the game ahead of them. See? It's the mind games.
That's true. What a good point, man. Alright, this could potentially be the last game, depending on how Protoss defends this time. On the bottom left, it's their last chance. It's the pink Protoss, you gotta bring it up again, playing for University of Arizona, Salvation, and Hyperbolic. Oh wait, yep, I was right, yep. Damn team names.
And their opponent, spawning up in the top right-hand corner of the map, Orbital Shipyard, is the orange Zerg players, Team N Squared. It's Nick and Nephew.
Playing for McGill University, the Peppered Angus.
Peppered Angus.
For whatever reason, that's their name. I doubt it's their real mascot, just saying.
Hold on. Is that a real thing? A Peppered Angus?
I really feel like they're just hoping that we slip up on the second word.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it came to mind, but
It's I'm consciously trying to avoid.
well, we do have a bit of a mix-up from the Protoss players. They are going for what I believe is a Nexus first, and I want to note, you know, opening in game number 1 was a Gateway first. You know, Gateway, Cybernetics Core, then going to the Nexus. Gate number 2, they went for the Forge first, then a Gateway, Cybernetics Core, and then Nexus. Number 3, they're going straight for the Nexus first. So they're gradually just getting faster and faster into actual expands.
Yeah, it's their game plan. They've constantly had this odd locations for their buildings too. You know, basically in the first game they walled off the natural, not really do anymore. Yeah, there's not really a Forge Fast expand anymore. Second game, they obviously put all those structures in the back, trying to hide them, didn't work. This game, everything does look a lot more normal, except that the Forge is still kind of an abnormality, to be honest. Forge Fast expands really fell out. Ravagers would deal with them pretty easily, I imagine, is the main reason why they did. And it just, you don't really need that early of an upgrade most of the time. But if they have a specific, you know, build in mind, you know, I'm thinking of an all-in here, then that could be really cool.
I think this is actually just a Cannon Rush Forge, because look at this. We actually have 2, I don't know if you noticed this, there are 2 scouting probes. And I say this, don't know if you've noticed this, because I don't think the Zerg players have. The other probe is already in the natural, building a photon cannon. There goes the second photon cannon, Sloppy Grub.
Oh my god.
This is the true heart of Protoss. You want to know what the legacy of the Void was? It was photon cannons.
Okay. The thing about doing a cannon rush later, though, is that sometimes it just gets shut down really hard, especially like if you have the queens already ready, or if you have any lings at all. Like, first of all, it should be scouted. That's like the main reason.
This was a 3-hatch before pool, I think. I'm not 100% sure about this. I wish that I had been paying more attention to that, but I know I saw
cool.
furious pings from the Protoss players.
Oh. I think they want to try and expand the cannon rush to reach the pool, but they'd have to have high ground vision, which they're not going to get.
Yeah, and that probe was the one hope of high ground vision. It just got taken out by the spine crawler.
No attempt to make lings. They couldn't really afford it, I suppose. So that spine crawler feels a little bit useless. They should have just basically decided right then and there, not save it or save it. You know, all in on the save or just not do anything at all. So the spine crawler looks a little odd now. It's going to be used defensively, I suppose, later on. A second attempt at a cannon rush is on the way, but this would literally do nothing except provide a point of warp in had they actually had warp gate.
Well, those would have been very slow warp-ins regardless, but at least they would have been protected by 2 photon cannons.
Yeah.
I guess that's actually probably like the best non-immediate warp-in that you could ever ask for, but oh my, we have 2 pylons down in 3rd expansion.
No. I think they just forgot about warp gate, man. Like, why?
This seems like a high possibility.
Oh god.
Well, we got the photon.
Yeah, I forgot about the photon overcharge. Huh. Silly us.
A photon overcharge pylon actually wins versus the spine crawler pretty well, but there's a good transfuse. That actually might be the saving grace. They take out the mothership core as well, and suddenly this game is kind of turned on its head. Like the chances that I felt like Protoss players are missing warp gate had, like they seem to be in a really good position.
Yeah, well, you gotta consider, even if that had taken out the spine crawler, the roaches were already out, and there weren't any cannons that they were waiting on. There weren't any warp-ins they were waiting on. The warp gate finally starts, so the mothership core, it kind of died for no reason, and that seemed like something like, hey, we have a little bit of momentum, and that cannon rush works surprisingly, let's try and continue it, but it wasn't going to continue at all. And now they have roaches and the potential for ravagers. Oh, no, they have ravagers already.
Well, Zombie Grub, at least the Protoss players have started warp gate now. Ooh,
There you go.
Ravagers.
Yeah, I didn't have to lose one. But oh well.
Yeah. A little bit unfortunate. But Adepts also getting chased out, and this is kind of the thing now, is that Zerg players do have a deficit of drones in comparison to the Protoss players, but they've been making a lot of roaches to deal with these Adepts. And to be entirely honest, they've taken out a couple of those Adepts. There's not exactly an enormous number that they have to worry about doing some big counterattack. I almost feel like Team N Squared can go for the big counterattack with these Roaches and Ravagers.
They should, because I just looked at their drone count, and it is quite low. They're getting all their upgrades, they're getting Hydralisk in, but they're not getting any drones, and they really would, like, if they're going to wait for Hydralisk, that drone count on 3 bays should be like 45. If they're not going to wait for Hydralisk, then they should attack now with all they have in roaches. It's a little bit odd.
I'm maybe trying to guess that they're doing something because with like Hydralisk because they just didn't really know what their opponents are up to. They haven't had a great opportunity to scout since, but they do end up seeing the Warp Prism now if they're paying attention. There's 2 of them, so pretty good chance that they saw the Warp Prism fly by their Overlord, and they've seen the 3rd expansion, so there is the attack.
Yeah, the 3rd expansion really should be the trigger that, you know, confirms that they're not going to all-in you, first of all, and then, of course, that they're not going to have a very good position to defend it. You know, they have this nice wall for their natural and their main, but over here, that's free pickings. Now, the Warp Prism is going to try and bring this army back, and, you know, this 3rd won't get up, but maybe the next 3rd will. It will have to be canceled, and sure, you can wait till the last minute, but don't not cancel it like the last game.
Yeah. Well, Adepts on the other side of the map, I do want to know, did try and do some sort of counter-harassment during the midst of that big Zerg aggression, but unfortunately both of the Adepts do end up losing their lives to drones and the Spine Crawler. But the War Prism's still alive and well, and looking for an the Photon Kids haven't been taken out! Prism!
That's
really
why
clever.
they were pressing the defend button. Wow.
Defend Photon Cannons that we built 3 minutes ago!
That is some, that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, you don't really see this ever. And it really shouldn't kill the 3rd.
Clever girl.
Yeah, exactly. But it really shouldn't kill the 3rd. They have enough production to take care of it.
Oh, those Ravagers are killing off all the sentries, though! And I think that they might actually be able to break down this wall, and no, they don't break down the wall in at the front, but they do manage to kill off 4 or 5 of the sentries. That was actually really, really unfortunate.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of that. The Immortals were enough to scare away the Roaches, and of course with the reinforcements being kept at home to deal with the War Prism, they couldn't have continued the attack anyways, so... nice to kill the sentries, though. That's a lot of gas. Kills the one queen that was over here for whatever reason, is gonna retake the third. A little bit later than they would like. The War Prism's a little stuck, too, with the Hydralisk there. Hydralisks don't have any upgrades, but they are keeping track of the War Prism.
Oh no, Hydralisk, they're chasing that War Prism down. They're gonna get a couple of shots off, but it looks like the War Prism should be able to get out of there. And actually scouts out the Lurker Den as well, so gonna have maybe an opportunity to get some nice damage. I love this little micro, keeping all the Zealots alive, just barely.
Yeah. Has to be very careful. This War Prism has a job to do for the next, like, 5 minutes at least. It needs to buy so much time, it needs to keep the army back at home, it needs to do some damage, and it goes down.
You know, you just set that up for disappointment.
sorry.
There's no way, when you jinxed it that hard, that the War Prism is gonna survive.
That was probably my bad, you're right.
Alright, well, I do want to say, though, the worker count for Protoss players, not looking so bad. And the fact that, even though they didn't kill that third expansion, think about how long they denied mining in that third, and even softened it up for a potential snipe target later on. I really don't feel like the Protoss players are actually doing that bad anymore.
They certainly reached a point where they're just kind of... They're comfortable right now. They know the armies are back home for now, and they're going to try and get a second War Prism to continue keeping that army at home. But when push comes to shove, and it'll be soon with Lurkers, they might be in a bit of trouble. Zerg has also upped their economy a little bit more too, so 48's a better number still. Again, not perfect, but definitely better.
At least you can afford to make units off of that. But ooh, did that DT take a swipe at something? I think it did. I think that the DT did take a swipe at that army, and now the Zerg players have been alerted to the DT presence. They're immediately
trying to wall them off. It's so unnecessary, but cool.
No, wait. Oh, okay. The Overseers killed off the Overseers came and they killed off the DT.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute. I thought because it actually messed up the
cute.
pathing a little bit. So the DT like tried to take a longer path around.
It was cute, but it just seemed so unnecessary. Little stalker cleanup crew here is gonna allow that creep to recede. Again, it recedes faster in Legacy of the Void. Kills the Observer, doesn't catch the War Prism. This War Prism really needs to live. I'm not gonna hype it up because he's gonna
Overlords
die.
would drop in the bottom. They have 3 lurkers inside of each.
Ooh.
Oh my god, this is gonna deny some mining over the third. We have a very slow Overlord making its way to the main base, and the probes haven't been pulled in the main base. Oh no, Zombie Grub! The probes are not running. There we go.
Lurker drops are really cool to see. They could have tried walking up the main, of course, but that would have been risky, even if there wasn't an observer. Going from behind, and still the army not reacting to it because they don't have an observer, is dealing so much damage.
Oh my god, and those sentries, this choke is actually working drastically against them.
Oh
The
god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh, they finally go down. 3 Immortals busted them real quick as soon as they could reach them, but damn, they took a lot with them.
That got really scary. I think that a couple of those lurker shots ended up going off towards some buildings instead of the sentries. And that may have been the saving grace over there for the remaining sentries.
War Prism tried to do some damage, but Hydras have been constantly on top of it, so not really getting any chance to warp in anything.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but I will say there aren't exactly a lot of spore colors that exist inside of the Zerg bases. There's one Overseer in the main or in the third expansion. There's 2 Overseers by the fourth, but I feel like there's still a nice opportunity for some DT warpins in either the main base or the natural expansion.
Mm-hmm. War Prism's gonna get sniped. It's gonna get sniped. Yeah, Hydras finally have their upgrade, which is now both their I don't know what that ping was for, which is now both their speed and range.
Yeah, things are going to be looking pretty dire over here for the Protoss players if they don't make something happen with this push. But they do have a good opportunity over here if they can get some good force shields off on some of this army. They might be able to section it off on the remainder.
Only one storm and not really used on the heart of the army. It's really just like half of the army was away, and now they're coming for a pincer move. A recall is definitely going to be used.
But did they really do the job that they needed to? They killed off a 5th expansion, but really... they need to do a little bit more than that, I feel.
I agree. They're trying to buy so much time, but it doesn't mean the exact same thing it did for Protoss and Heart of the Swarm, where if they bought enough time, on 3 bases specifically, they could get maxed out on a very powerful army with upgrades and everything. Buying time in Legacy of the Void can still be, very crucial, but it's not to the same extent. Like, your Colossus have been nerfed, your Disruptors are hit or miss, you're running out of minerals in your main, so maybe you can get a full army, but you definitely can't get full upgrades. It's hard, and they need to look towards a 4th, but they're not gonna get one.
Zombie Grub, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but I like talking about really cheeky, cheesy, and very gimmicky strategies. You know what the gimmicky strategy I see here as an opportunity for us players?
What?
Warp in 4 High Templars. You feed back every one of the Overseers that are all at full energy, and then you just use the DTs to make space and take a 4th expansion. All Overseers are staying full energy. I'm just saying.
They are. You got a good point. Maybe they notice it. Disruptors are the key way to dealing with lurkers, by the way. It's been a while since we've seen this dynamic, and eventually Disruptors will win unless the Zerg gets a little more creative. In a stalemate like this, Disruptors, of course, eventually just beat all the lurkers. But they didn't have Disruptors. The first one's finally coming out. It's going to take a while. They 2-shot lurkers, so it's going to take a while to kill all of them. Every single time they do a Disruptor shot, it kind of pokes the bear. As of course it has a cooldown, so that might be the opportunity for the army to move in, even if the lurkers are dying.
Yeah, that seems like a good opportunity. We did have a kind of hidden expansion going up at the top left that does get canceled as we see now not only lurkers out on the map, but swarm hosts. And I feel like those swarm hosts are actually going to be really threatening when you start thinking about the defensive position for this 3rd expansion, because that ridge is just a really nice place to plant your swarm hosts on the bottom of, and start sending slow waves of swarm hosts in. But they got to keep that swarm host army alive.
Yeah. Swarm hosts at this point in Legacy of the Void are kind of a joke. They're kind of that unit you get when you know you're ahead, and maybe you can do some cool things with it, but they're certainly not your core composition, and should probably be replaced, honestly, with Vipers or Ultras. But they can be fun, and they can be useful. In this situation, they're not. They really are useful as a harass-based unit, not a defensive one. Usually they can be attacked while they're flying, and they definitely should have been instead of them just running away. Now all of their crucial units, their High Templars, their Sentries, all get sniped on the backside. That was really bad.
Wow! Every single High Templar got focus fired down. I gotta say, Swarm Hosts, I agree, they've been struggling to find a bit of a place in Legacy of the Void, but that was a pretty effective use of them so far.
Lurkers also managed to bust up to the 3rd, so they're no longer mining at all, really. Their naturals mine out and their mains mined out. The 3rd is like, he's pulling the boys.
The boys are going to have a lot of their work cut out for them, because they've got to make a lot happen over here, soaking up a couple of hits. But the Roach Hydra Force is pushing on a little bit too strongly. The next wave of Stormhost Locusts come out as well. And this army is all but dead. They dance their way out to oblivion.
GG! That's going to be a 3-0 for Zerg players. And that's McGill University over University of Arizona.
Yeah, they go on in killing the dream team and killing the dream. But you know what? I think that they're going to be pretty happy. For them, it was more than a dream. It was reality. I just actually noticed the 3 lurkers over sitting in the main base at the ramp. Killing off the pylons, killing off the gateways, just doing their thing.
Yeah. Alright. That's actually the end of the cast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. That was the round of 32. We'll be continuing the round of 32 Thursday, and hopefully by then we'll have all the problems with Rifkin fixed. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Fear Dragon is an emergency and as a test, too.
Absolutely. I mean, you know that I'm not Fear Dragon. My name is Rifkin, as I think the name tag suggests, if it still says Rifkin.
Oh, yes. You're at Rif King, so follow him on Twitter. Also, Liquid Red.
Yeah, by the way, guys, I know that we've, Base Trade TV, myself and Zombie Grub have been selling some shirts. I know that I don't want to advertise them too much because they're no longer on sale, but if you do have them, be sure to relentlessly tweet out pictures of your shirts to me. Even if you've already tweeted them before, make sure to continue to tweet those pictures out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you guys missed it because we weren't live, but my mom really wanted to do it to Rifkin if he could see. She wore the shirt that I had, and Rifkin hated it, so it was pretty fun.
That's fantastic.
Okay. There's actually not much to shout out. Of course, CSL is an awesome little movement, organization. Collegiate Star League, just a little fun Archon tournament here. And then the season will begin next year, actually, after a break for Christmas. Of course, as all the college students go on their actual break. So we're in the round of 32 now. The round of 16 and the finals and whatnot are going to be played on Saturday, starting at, I think, 1 p.m. EST, I want to say. I think so. Yeah. We'll, of course, keep you updated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zombie Group, where can people catch you in Base Trade TV at?
Yes, so you can catch me at TG Gaming, that is true, down below. And of course at Base Trade TV, and of course our channel, where most of you come from, but if not, then feel free to check us out. Where can they find you, Fear Dragon?
You can find me over at FearDragon64 on all the social media, Twitch, and everything. And
Cool.
thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for being the emergency that everyone needed, I guess. Otherwise I was going to solo cast and it wasn't going to be that fun.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Alright, that's it. See you guys Thursday. Bye.